This is Guardian Radio 96.9 FM. Fresh news, smart talk, all day.
The views and opinions of the hosts and guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect the position of the management and staff of Guardian Network.
The aftermath of every social revolution brings about change. Cultural norms and landmarks shift as our minds and hearts expand beyond the familiar to everything and a time to every purpose in the land of the living. This is our time to renew, revive, and restore the hope lost to the busyness of life. This is our time to dig again and rebuild from the storms of our past on a solid footing that holds. Welcome to The Foundation.
The Foundation.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. 96.9 FM radio. Howard Grant in your company, The Foundation. It is an absolutely gorgeous, beautiful day. Grateful to be in your company, grateful to be in the land of the living, hoping that you guys are great out there as we continue to be able to go forward and have this conversation. We talked about this. We talked about this sort of an idea to identify the voices who've been advocating and really pushing for a sense of independence, growth, and development here in the country for a while. We've been talking about that. We've been identifying, and we kind of committed this entire week to doing that, right? As you know, that this is a pre-recording, so I know that many of you want to be able to call in and have a very good conversation with us and sort of engage. But today, for the relentless text that we've been having, right? Just talk to me, right? For the relentless text that we've been having, and for the fact that, there's always sort of an agitation whenever we present ourselves. And it's kind of talk about the fact that, there needs to be a shift in government. There needs to be empowerment. There needs to be conviction. There needs to be sort of an idea for growth and development. There's always like a subtle text, whether on my personal phone or whether on the landline. The text line here, there's always this sort of a text that says, well, Howard, you need to talk to the COI. You need to talk to Lincoln Bain. Well, before we do that, I got to be able to shout my good, decent friends out over at AFS Insurance Agents and Brokers. They get everything laid out for you. Make sure you check them out, right? They are located on number 407 Blue Hill Road South. They got everything laid out for you. Grateful to be in their company, grateful for them to be able to be connected with what we're doing here. Make sure you check them out if you're in the market for your bulk insurance. Please check them out. The number is 341-1AFS, 341-1AFS. They can be able to assist you with all your insurance needs, whether that's commercial, whether that's residential, whether that's personal. You can be able to do that. They can take very good care of you, and they get in-house financing. You can't beat that thing. Actually, my good friend Ethric Bowe or Mr. Richardson, he'll be able to take care of you down there. All right, guys, make sure you pick up your Guardian newspaper. All the information's in the paper. There's a great deal of things that's going on. We're looking at last week's paper, and we're hoping that next week or this week isn't as tumultuous as we've been able to see those things. But, we're living, so we got to be able to deal with those things. But like I've been saying to you, man, I've been having this kind of a conversation with you, and we've been, and I can't even say that it's subtle. We've been taking on a very strong position to talk about where we are, where we need to be, how we're going to be able to move forward for the past, since the inception of the foundation, all right? And since we've come to this kind of a conclusion to talk about those things, there's no two ways about this. I'm grateful for the opportunity, grateful to the Guardian, grateful to all those persons, and really grateful for the reception of this sort of an invitation to have this kind of a conversation with none other than Lincoln Bain. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to be able to introduce you to none other than Lincoln Bain, all the way from the COI, relentless advocate, whether it's Controversy TV, whether it's, what was the show that you was doing before, Lincoln? Man, you've always been in this kind of a space to really being able to talk about what needs to happen in the country. Say good afternoon to the people, say hello to them, and let them know who you are for those persons who may not know.
Well, good day to everyone who's watching this. My name is Lincoln Bain. I'm the leader of the Coalition of Independents. And I just want to thank you guys for giving us the opportunity to spread the message of a new Bahamas to the Bahamian people.
I'm grateful for that, man. I'm really grateful for the opportunity to kind of talk with you like this and really talk about it. Now, for some time, you've been in a position really been advocating. Talk to me about the inception of your journey. Today, we're going to talk independence. We're going to talk sobriety. We're going to talk about being able to stay sober, Bahamas. That's really what the theme is all about. And the sober is about strength, opportunity, balance, empowerment, and renewal. These are the things that you've been agitating for a very long time. So talk to me about your course of action, how this all started for you, your course to independence. I know that you started off with this sort of a desire to be able to attach yourself to a formal political organization, but you found yourself detached from that, and then sort of disenchanted with the idea. Talk to me about how you found yourself in this position and let persons know about it.
Well, I will tell you that I've been advocating for people for over 2 decades now. I never had the urge to advocate for different social issues, to save the turtles or to lower electricity bills and those general issues. Initially, I was only interested in fighting for people who were being abused by either powerful people, companies, or the government. And so I've been doing that for a very long time. There were some famous cases that I dealt with, from the Sea Hauler victims to those people in Pinewood whose houses were being broken down in Independent Estates, Pinewood, Nassau Village area, and a lot of other famous cases that I've fought. And we've won every case that we've fought thanks to the strength of God. And so I've been an activist for a very long time. It got to the point, though, where I was being offered to run in Parliament from various parties, and I always told them no, because I was not interested in politics. It wasn't my thing. I was just interested in being an activist and fighting for people and then moving on. And it got to the point where I looked at the political landscape and I was like, no, man, we got to do something different. It's like everyone has handcuffs on themselves. Even if they join a party, they will go in there with so much zeal and want to do stuff. And then when they get in there, they're so ineffective. I was wondering what's going on. And so I decided that, I was going to give it a try, to offer myself. I can't sit down and complain unless I go and try to be that change. And so at one point before the 2017 election, I said, okay, I'm going to give the Free National Movement a try, because Minnis was coming out. I sat with him. He sounded like he wanted to do something different. He didn't want to be controlled by certain powers that be, and he wanted to do things differently for the people. And he started to listen to me and repeat a lot of stuff that I was saying to him. So I said, I could go in this direction. That didn't work out for various reasons. And I decided to go independent. And I got a call from the DNA, and the DNA said that they wanted to work with me. And so I worked with them, and we ran in that first election in Pinewood. It was a marvelous experience. And we were not successful in winning the election, but we were successful in being able to help a lot of people along the way, which is always my objective. And the next election, by then, Brian McCartney had left, and the DNA, it didn't seem to have the same oomph that it had before, or vision or drive. And I decided to step away from politics, and I was moving on I was even planning on leaving the country to go into business. And the lockdowns happened. Some ladies approached me. They were dealing with different activists, and they literally told me that they wanted to fight, but it's like all of the activists retired. It's like they weren't, serious about this push. And I told them, well, I'm leaving the country. I've had enough. I have a big business deal in the U.S. and I'm gone. But I'll help them get set up with a website and teach them how to research, etc. And they were excited, and we started to do the research. And as I researched, I started to see things about our past, our history, our natural resources, etc. And I was like, no, the Bahamian people need to know this stuff. We need to see this. And so we decided to do a documentary instead of just a website. And all of this was during the lockdowns. And so we did as much of the shooting as we could during the lockdowns. And we did a documentary. And as we finished it, I was like, this can't just go on YouTube. We got to put this on TV. So we called Clint Watson. He said, let him see it. And we let him see it. And he was like, Lincoln, this has to go on TV. How much of these do you have? we want you every week. And so we told we'll produce more. We only had one, but we'll produce more. And that aired on TV, on Beyond the Headlines with Clint Watson.
What was the
And we
what
did
was the
that
name? What was the name of the series?
Well, we called it Discovering Our Natural Resources. That was what we initially called it. All right. And so each one had a different focus and a different name. And the first one was about our aragonite. That caused a huge stir. The second one was about our land and our limestone, etc. And we went on to talk about our oil and all of the resources that we have. And it caused a big stir. But what was different this time, Howard, was that this was the first time that persons were able to show documents. People have been talking about natural resources for a long time. And I even had some of them on my radio shows and TV shows that allow them the platform to talk about it. But this was the first time people were able to bring documents. And there were persons in the industry who reached out to me because they felt that I had the courage to expose some things. And they reached out to me and said, Lincoln, here's the contract, here's the deal we have with government. Show this to Bahamian people. If you show this to them, they're going to see how wealthy the Bahamas is, and they're going to want change. And so we revealed it to the Bahamian people, and it started to cause a stir. We did some protests to bring awareness to what was going on. Again, during the lockdowns, this was happening. People braved COVID and the fact that we were on lockdown and shouldn't have been gathered, and still came out and protest in numbers. And we filed for commissions of inquiry. We tabled a bill in the House of Assembly that caused quite a stir in order for Bahamians to benefit from their natural resources. We even filed a complaint with the FBI for companies that were abusing our natural resources in the U.S. and the Bahamas previously. And so we did quite a few things. We planned a big mass rally on Oran Bailey Park. And at that point, I was arrested on some fake charges. And those charges, of course, went away. But that caused a lot of people to come out, and it caused even more attention than we've ever had. And at that point, when I was arrested on those fake charges that morning of the rally, in prison, you know, there was a guy in there. He seemed to be a little schizophrenic, and he spoke to me, and he knew who I was, and you know, it inspired me. And I said, you know what? They're not gonna. If the activists sit down and wait for the government to do what's right, we're gonna be in a problem, because they're not gonna do what's right. We have to go from activism into getting into the House and bringing the change we need to see. I thought if Pinlin and Milo Butler and those had continued to just be activists, we would have still been under the UBP. But Pinlin and those decided, no, we have to take the government and we have to put those policies in place that we want to see.
Mm-hmm. I want to ask you.
That's the road we decided to take. We said we're going to.
Let me ask you a couple questions, Lincoln. Let me dive into this and talk with you about this. Now you give me a great timeline as it relates to your course of action, your commitment, your disenchantment. You were really disenchanted with the country, with politics, with the way that things are happening.
Yeah.
Decided to be able to move off to wherever you're going to be able to go and really be able to leave all these things behind. But because of a subtle agitation, because of a persistence, because of a cry, you've decided to kind of get back into the game, get back into the fray and commit yourself to these particular things. Do you have absolutely any regrets for being able to take that course? If you look back, with hindsight being 2020, do you look back and say, man, I might as well move forward in this particular direction? Do you believe that you've made a significant impact with this sort of commitment that you've made? Maybe I running ahead of the gun, but nonetheless, I want to be able to know this because, you know, this is what popped up in my mind. Talk to me about it.
The impact, I think, was phenomenal. I think that we've changed the entire conversation of a nation. We started getting everyone to talk about our natural resources. In the meantime, we were also fighting and agitating for different causes, and all of them we've been able to to fight for. There's a serious issue as it relates to immigration, illegal immigration. And I don't have a problem with immigration. We need immigration, but illegal immigration was becoming problematic. Because the papers, the government was responding, what illegal immigration problem? We don't have an immigration problem. And of course, we would jump on the plane and go and show people what was going on so that we could get our country under control. In terms of our natural resources, the carbon credits, which was a big focus of ours, we were able to spread this message, and it was a conversation around kitchen tables all over the country. It became a household topic, and so that was extremely successful. The government formed a Ministry of Natural Resources coming out of all of that, and so we see that the tables have turned and the conversations have shifted. Whereas before, you'll remember that Perry Christie used to say, we don't have any natural resources. He went into the international community and said that we don't have any natural resources. Now, even Rumi Ferreira said that our agricultural industry is only worth $2.5 million with an M dollars, which is ridiculous. And now people are starting to wake up and see what's going on. Before the election, Howard, they were saying that, carbon credits aren't real. Lincoln Bain is selling dreams. Don't listen to him. And now that's all they're talking about is carbon credits.
Wow.
As if, hold on, you're saying something different than before election. And that, according to people who were speaking to me, that legitimized me. For some people who were just on the fence, it legitimized me. It makes them feel like they were being deceived. And it caused a lot of people to shift towards me because I was out there standing up fighting, even though they were calling me crazy for talking about this stuff. They were saying it's a scam, don't listen to them, carbon credits are real. Now that's all they're talking about. And so it caused people to not trust them, but to trust me.
Well, Lincoln, let me take this commercial break. Let's talk about these things. When we get back, I'd like to talk more information about this sort of the scandal associated with. I think that there has been sort of a view a lot of persons have taken, right? There's been a view a lot of persons have taken in your stead and your position and being able to identify what you've done. And people have decided to be able to put you sort of on a crossroads. They go in all the way with you or they reject you entirely. I want to talk about that when we get back. Ladies and gentlemen, we're talking with none other than Lincoln Bain, pre-recorded show for your pleasure and being able to do these things. If you want to be able to dive deeper into it, please give me a text, 827-0111, 827-0111. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take this quick commercial break and be right back after this.
The Foundation. We'll be back right after this.
The Foundation is brought to you by Alive, Ancient Chinese Secrets, Bonneville Barnes, Burger King, Home Store, Cesslin Pediatrics, Commonwealth Bank, Epic Battery, Grand Bahama News, Marco's Pizza, Printmasters, and Ron's Electric Motors.
Do you have uncontrollable debt? Are you ready to make that move to Fidelity for a stress-free future? These loans have a built-in savings plan that pays you unbeatable interest. Ask about our debt consolidation loans today. Call 356-7764.
Fidelity, we're good for you.
Great news! Ron's Electric Motors' new location on Cowpen Road, right next to Island Luck, is open Saturdays and Sundays. So for those needing repairs on electric motors, generators, welding machines, water pumps, battery chargers, electric lifts, transformers, and power tools, Ron's Cowpen Road location can have you up and running on weekends. Don't forget, you can still visit Ron's Electric Motors on Wolf Road and Claridge Road, and now Ron's new location on Cowpen Road. Dial 356-0249 or 323-5267.
Cordyceps is a valuable herb which is used to treat chronic bronchitis, respiratory and kidney disorders, nighttime urination, sexual dysfunction, anemia, irregular heartbeat, hypertension, high cholesterol, unwanted weight loss. Also, it can be used to generate blood cells. It can actively assist against cancerous cells and shrink the size of tumors. It is also good for menopause and delays aging. For more information, call 557-1369 and ask for Cordyceps today. ancient Chinese secret.
This summer, Popeyes and Coke is taking you from the beaches to Bourbon Street in Louisiana. With the purchase of the NOLA box, you can enter to win a grand prize trip for two to New Orleans. Enjoy the NOLA box, which has our iconic chicken sandwich, 2 chicken tenders, 1 side of choice, and a 32-ounce Coca-Cola beverage with a cinnamon apple pie for just $13.95. Fill out the skill question on your receipt. Enter online at Popeyes Bahamas Facebook page.
Love that chicken from Popeyes.
Foundation.
The foundation. And we are back, ladies and gentlemen. 96.9 FM radio. Howard Grant in your company, The Foundation, here live and in full effect. Grateful to be in your company. Pre-recorded a conversation of sobriety. Today we're talking and we're continuing to be able to have this very good conversation with none other than Lincoln Bain. Before I be able to go forward, I got to shout out my good, decent people over at Rebar, man. You know, we've been talking about this kind of a fiber rebar for a long time and this idea associated with it. Got to shout out my good guy, Avery Lightbourne, being able to do a great deal of things. He needs you guys to know what he's doing, letting you guys know that there's a great deal of things happening on the table. And if you want to be able to be a part of it, you can give him a call to get your fiber rebar today. In August, this month alone, there is a significant discount. You can save over $600 this month if you be able to get your fiber rebar. Please give him a call. As you can say, it's only available whilst supplies last. So please be able to assist him with that and be able to get those things taken care of. His number is 603-4506, 603-4506, or hit him up 822-9527, 822-9527. Art Summer Deals. That's the MST bar with Avery Lightbourne being able to do a great deal of things, man. Lincoln, I want to thank you, man. Thank you, like I said, for the opportunity to be able to speak with you. But I want to get into the meat and potatoes of this, right? For a very long time, people viewed you, and I don't know whether or not this is sort of a pronouncement that you've made over yourself. I don't know whether or not people identify you in this particular capacity based upon what you've done in the past in terms of the television shows. Because I remember sitting in Grand Bahama, watching Controversy TV, looking for Controversy TV, and was just blown away by the pronouncements that were being made in the public. Now you've kind of transitioned into formality, transitioned into a position of advocacy from a formal standpoint in the public domain, and persons still see you or identify you in the light of yesteryear. I want to know about that. I want to know whether or not this is deliberate, that you're always pushing the envelope, or whether or not this is sort of the thing that follows you because of the taboo conversations that you have. Talk to me about how this started and the way that you see people viewing you in this particular light. Go ahead.
People know me from a lot of different lights. I sang with a gospel group called Vision for a very long time, and we traveled the world ministering in gospel. We even traveled with Dr. Miles Monroe, who you would know he's very adverse to scandal, so he wouldn't be involved in anything like that. I spoke and I sang all over the world. We represented on TBN, BET, and a lot of different INSP, a lot of different channels around the world. And that's really what I was doing, even while I was doing Controversy TV. The reason we decided to do Controversy TV is because we noticed that the media was soft in terms of really challenging the status quo, in terms of challenging the politicians or the pastors or anyone with power. It's like it was only, in our opinion at the time, it was only press release kind of media. And it was like, this MP said this MP said that, and no kind of investigative reporting. And so we wanted to do something to really get to the bottom of what was going on. And that is what we did. We named it Controversy TV to get people's attention. But a lot of what we did was really investigating what was really going on. I learned something from Harry Belafonte, and he said an artist has two responsibilities. He said, one is to show the world as it is, and two, to show the world as it should be. They are your responsibilities. Any kind of artist, whether it's a painter or whether it's a musician, any artist, to show the world as it is and show the world as it should be. And we feel that for a lot, it wasn't showing the world as it is. And so we took on some topics that people were afraid to, but we never had any vulgarity or anything out of order. We aired on Cable 12. And so there wasn't anything out of order. I've been doing this for again, 2 decades. I've never been sued for saying anything out of order or doing anything out of order. Every media house has been sued at some point. I have not been, because when I speak, I only speak the truth and I only speak what I have evidence of. And so I don't know where the misunderstanding would be there, but I chose to stand up and speak for the people. And of course, when you speak truth, you're going to develop enemies. And that's an old African proverb. But I decided to speak truth to power. And everyone who has done that throughout history, whether it was Martin Luther King or Jesus, if you speak truth to power, you're going to develop some enemies and probably even a bad reputation.
But let me ask you this question. Are you satisfied as you look back? And I think that this conversation, because you're still progressive, you're still in this kind of a poised position that you're moving forward, and you have identified a great deal of things that you want to do. You continue to agitate. You see that you're going on your lives. You're always being able to talk about these things. And so you're always sort of in a mix of what's happening from a local standpoint. And so we're grateful and we're appreciative to that. But as you assess your life, as you assess your position, as you do some introspection, as you look over the course of time, even from the inception of whether or not you should have moved and you've decided to stay, do you believe that you could have taken on, because one of the proverbs also, local proverbs, Bahamian proverbs, is that, you could get further with honey than with vinegar, right? Do you believe that the sharp approach of the social offense that that persons indicate that you continue to be able to agitate and push for, do you think that you could have shifted anything with that, or this course that you've chosen, this course of truth, this course of vulnerability, this course of transparency, this course of agitation is the course that you've chosen, which is a good course to be able to see the reform in our country? Talk to me about it.
Yeah, I think that what the media does is the media tries to only show us from agitation light to make it seem like we are aggressive. The thing is, Howard, when you see us out there on a protest, we have a crowd behind us who want to hear. And so we have to speak a certain way so that they can hear. And we're out there agitating. And so there's a time, the Bible says, for everything under the face. But normally when we're on the news protesting, that's all they see. But there are people who see me every Sunday at 5 o'clock doing what no other political leader in this country does, addressing the Bahamian people in a very cordial way. We only deal with education and information. We only encourage our people to believe or listen to what there's proof and evidence of, to not listen to anything. Don't even just believe me. And the people trust me. As you can see, the amount of information that I get from all corners of society. We have persons in every government office who are patriots, who give us information. When the people are in trouble, they call on the COI. They call on Lincoln Bain. They call on Maria Daxon. They don't call on FNM MPs or PLP MPs. They call on us because they know that we're going to stand up for them. And so there is a trust factor. We deal with a lot of matters. People only see certain matters when it gets to the media. But they don't see 1% of 1% of what we do. And most of what we do is diplomatic. Sometimes a letter would go to someone who is grieving someone else. And just because they see my name CC'd, they would say, you know what, we don't want to have to tangle with him. We'll give you what you're supposed to get. And so there is a trust factor. And like I said, you're always going to be misjudged. Jesus was misjudged. They call him the devil. In fact, they crucified him. Martin Luther King was misjudged. They call him all manner of names, etc. And that's what happens when you take up this cause. And so I deal with even members of parliament and these other people on a daily basis. And so what you're talking about, we deal with most of the things we deal with diplomatically. But when it comes to the point where we have to go out there and stand up, that's a different story. And everyone would understand and relate to that. You know, if someone is stepping on your foot, you can tell them, hey, you're on my foot. If they don't listen, you say, hey, come on, you're on my foot. Can you get off? And if they don't listen, then you might have to speak a little louder to make sure they hear you. And
or give them a little shove. Talk to me, Lincoln. Or give them a little shove.
Yeah. I'll give them a little shove. But I think people have come to respect me, even if there are some people who don't like or understand, or they only see what the media portrays, they come to respect and say, you know what, he's going to stand up for the people.
Yeah, Lincoln, you have. I think that's one thing that's synonymous with your name. Everybody knows that you're not going to back down from a fight. I think that socially, whether it is something that persons believe in or don't believe in, once they see your name associated with it, or they see that you're standing for it, that you're not going to back down from a fight. And I think that that's one of the things that is admirable. I think a lot of persons admire that, despite the fact that you're viewed in one light or another. I see that there has been sort of a contentious relationship between you and I don't know whether or not it's you directly, but I know that the chairman of the PLP has taken on this sort of a course. When I listen to his discourse and listen to him speaking to those persons that support the PLP in his particular capacity, he would often, I don't know if he still does this, but he would often relate to the coalition of idiots, right? Being able to identify that and sort of degrading the formulation or the congregation of a group of people. And how do you feel about that? How do you feel about persons taking on a very sharp tone and identifying the people that support you, that move after you, that look to be able to walk with you on this journey of reformation and growth? They look at you in a particular light. Those people that oppose you, they take on a very strong position and use condescending tone to you and your grouping to say that these people are idiots. These people, they don't understand this. They don't understand how things go in this country. What do you say about that? And why do you think people take such an aggressive tone and position with you in that particular stat?
Basically, I am honored by the fact that someone who's supposed to be a statesman actually would resort to name calling, because that's what they do. When someone cannot refute your argument on the issues, what they do is they resort to name calling. And that's actually an honor. And it shows that with all of the education and diplomacy that he should have, that he cannot refute one word that we have said. If anything that we would have said would have been wrong, they would not just name call. They would actually say, this is false, that is false, this is not so, here's the real facts. But they don't do that. They just resort to name calling. Like they did before election. We talked about carbon credits and they never refuted it. All they did was say, hey, don't listen to him, he's selling dreams. And so they talked around issues, but they never said, is it false? No one said it's false. No one said it isn't true. And now it's all they're talking about. And so I even had a judge approach me. He said, the reason you're resonating with academia and in a lot of cases, and even with the upper class, is because they are not able to refute a word that you're saying. And he said, it's because you come with evidence every time. And so what we do is we educate our supporters. Our supporters are educated, a new type of Bahamian. All right. So the Free National Movement targeted free-thinking Bahamians who weren't just locked up on that PLP kind of cult of personality thing. They had free thinkers, and that's why they opened the airwaves for free speech to benefit their political platform. We believe that Bahamians have evolved because of the information age, and we want to release information to Bahamians. Idiots don't present documents and facts and proof and evidence. And if an idiot does, you can easily knock him down. But who I think are the idiots, my brother, the persons who can't build one hospital in 50 years, not one hospital. The persons who can't keep our electricity on. The person who is causing us to have high light bills. The person who can't keep our roads paved. The persons who can't have ambulances on our family islands or fire trucks. These are the people that I call idiots.
This
Water.
This sounds like idiots are a part of the government, not necessarily any one or two political organizations. But this sounds like it's a pandemic or endemic within the government.
Idiots are the persons who have been running this country down to the ground. When you have people now protesting because they don't have light, water, or cable, there has to be idiots running the country. That is a bigger population than we have. I live in neighborhoods that use more electricity than our entire country uses. All right? And so why is it that we can't get this right? And so you may be calling us idiots because we choose not to fall for your cult organization, but we choose to be free thinkers and we choose to educate ourselves. And the reason is most of the people who follow the COI are educated. And there's a lot of people, even who live outside this country, Bahamians who live outside this country or who have been to school. Howard, when you go away and live in another country and you see how things just work, you don't even have to think about electricity turning on and off. That's not even a thought. That's not something you think about. You don't have to think about whether your water is going to be off when you are in college, living somewhere in the U.S. or England or anywhere else in the world. That's not even a second thought. It's not something you think about. And to come back in our country and have to be worried about whether the water is going to be on when it's time to bathe because you got to go to a meeting, or whether electricity is going to be on so you can iron your clothes. These conversations should not be had in the 2024.
That's really heavy what you're saying.
So, for example, you're going to spend $160 million to pave a road when there's a water leakage problem on those roads, and you're going to have to go back and dig up the $660 million road. And so the way our country has been run so far, it makes no sense. But we understand why it happens. And that's because we don't have a crime problem. We don't have an immigration problem. We don't have a money problem in this country. We have a corruption problem.
Mm. And that's something that we've been sort of banging on for a while. We've been talking about this corruption, this perceived corruption. This is sort of a genuflection into the concept that we can't do anything about it. We heard our former prime minister take on the tone that says it is what it is. Being able to do that, and being able to take on this kind of a tone, you have really been able to. And I want to talk about this with you. You have really been ruffling some feathers with the traditional mindset in politics. You've been really, really ruffling feathers. And I don't know whether or not you're going to, is there sort of an agitation to stop? When we come back, I want to talk to you about that. I want to take this quick commercial break, ladies and gentlemen. But when we come back, I want to talk to you about that, Lincoln. I want to talk to you about whether or not you've been approached, whether or not there is a desire to be able to commandeer you, to commandeer your voice, to commandeer your movement, and to kind of absorb you into the fold. We've seen this before with other organizations and groupings, that persons can be able to come together and persons follow you. But as soon as you get yourself in this kind of a position, then boom, bush cracked, man gone. And we're finding ourselves in that kind of a position. I think that's why there is this reluctance socially for being able to follow behind persons, because there is this saying from a biblical standpoint that the arms of flesh would surely fail you, right? All right, let me take this quick commercial break, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to be right back after this.
The Foundation will be back right after this.
The Foundation. The Foundation. The Foundation. The Foundation.
It's time to upgrade the way you enjoy at-home entertainment. Alive Fiber is here. Enjoy all your favorite channels and streaming apps, all at lightning-fast internet speeds with affordable bundles, and it's only a click away. Visit www.alivefiber.com to sign up now. Stay connected, live your life. It's good to be alive.
Looking for a supplement which can be used daily without side effect? Give Ginseng Royal Jelly and Panax Ginseng Extract a try. They contain high active proteins and vitamins. It can prevent cardiovascular and cerebrovascular diseases, significantly increase energy and stamina, restore libido, sharpen memory, balance endocrine system, and prevent cancer. Recognize the blue bottle as authenticity. For more information, call 557-1369. Ancient Chinese Secret.
Now let me see now. 326 EPIC. Hello? This Epic Eckert battery. This Miss Beulah from round the corner. I hear you're selling tires now on Wolf Road too.
Praise the Lord. It's about time. I live Fox Hill and Fire Trail. It's too far.
That ain't all. They open Monday to Friday, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. On Sunday and holiday, 8 a.m. to 4 p.m.
My brother Sam, he's a hacker, and he could go right there and get fixed up.
Call us at 326 EPIC. We ship also to the Family Island.
Cordyceps is a valuable herb which is used to treat chronic bronchitis, respiratory and kidney disorders, nighttime urination, sexual dysfunction, anemia, irregular heartbeat, hypertension, high cholesterol, unwanted weight loss. Also, it can be used to generate blood cells. It can actively assist against cancerous cells and shrink the size of tumors. It is also good for menopause and delays aging. For more information, call 557-1369 and ask for Cordyceps today. Ancient Chinese Secret.
This is Guardian Radio 96.9 FM. Fresh news, smart talk, all day.
Foundation.
The foundation.
The foundation.
And we are back, ladies and gentlemen, 96.9 FM radio. Howard Grant in your company, The Foundation. Beautiful day. Grateful to be in your company. Great conversation. I am speaking with none other than Lincoln Bean. If it's choppy a little bit, please forgive me. We're trying to be able to ensure that we can clean that up for you and make sure everything is taken care of, because this is a crucial conversation. This is a conversation that I think a lot of persons have been waiting for, to be able to hear from Lincoln Bean, especially on this platform, for a long time. I'm grateful for him being able to take this invitation to have this conversation. And Lincoln, I want to talk to you about this. So when we went off to the break just now, there is, like I said, social and relentless agitation that persons have been able to identify you. We know that, and let's just shoot straight with it. We know that We March started a significant sort of a movement, right? We March constructed this kind of an idea, presented concepts, sort of pillars, and the approach of how to be able to commandeer things. They had great persons on their team set up in this particular manner. A lot of persons gravitated towards that. They had the visuals. They had this. They had that. They put everything together, and there was almost 3,000 to 5,000 people in the streets marching that there's an idea to be able to move forward. Fast forward, after the significant social agitation, after turning their back on the then government at the time, which was the PLP, we found the leadership of We March, taking on the position and putting on an FNM hat, which shifted the trajectory, shifted the direction entirely. There has been this subtle agitation, Lincoln. I just want to be very clear with you and talk to you like this. There has been this agitation, socially and otherwise, softly pronounced in corners, like you said, around kitchen tables and barbershops and other places, that said, Lincoln Bean is committed to Lincoln Bean. Lincoln Bean will remain committed until there is an offer that he is inclined to. Lincoln Bean has an allegiance to Hubert Alexander Minnis, and he has significantly forged relationships to ensure that he could find Minnis back in leadership, and then eventually finding himself in leadership. There are conversations and controversies and concepts that exist around everything that you do. What do you say to these things, my brother? Talk to me about it.
I don't know how anyone could say that I would work with Hubert Alexander Minnis. No one has fought against Hubert Alexander Minnis more than Lincoln Bean and the COI. In fact, before the 2021 election, it was only Lincoln Bean and the COI fighting against him. It was us out there protesting when he did those lockdowns with no notice to people. We went out there and got locked up. All right. And he had to reverse his lockdown and rethink what he was doing. No one was fighting him more than us. In fact, the leader of the opposition at the time was simply saying, do whatever Minister says, do whatever he say. It ain't long now, just do what he says. But we were out there fighting him. We were out there exposing them. A lot of the corruption that was exposed with their party, it was us who exposed it. MPs who have since been arrested, who were part of their party, again, it was us who exposed what was going on. It was a deep secret. We exposed documents that we believe, we can't say that, but led to the arrest of one particular member of parliament. And another member of parliament who got arrested, we also exposed what was going on. And so we have fought Minis more than anyone. And I've also made it clear, if you ever see me join the FNM, which we feel has been a problem for this country as of late, don't support me. And I will say that unequivocally.
Giuseppe, hold on. What you say now? You said that if people ever see you join, now fix this now, because don't just do it on one side of the spectrum. We want to know on both sides, because there's the traditional element in this country doesn't only exist on one side of this coin. It's not just the FNM. It's also the PLP. Now, what about if people see you join and commit yourself to this New Day administration for New Day 2.0? What about that? You said, if you see me join the FNM, don't support me. What about in the event that you're presented with an offer that you cannot refuse with the PLP? Should people support you in that manner?
Right. That was half a statement I'd made earlier. And so the FNM has tried to reach out to me. Since last year, they were reaching out. I think they realized they're going to have a problem winning with us being in existence. They tried to send their tentacles out to reach out to me, and I made sure they knew unequivocally that is not going to happen. I've even made that clear to Michael C. Pintard when I ran into him, and I said, listen, the FNM has been one of the problems that this country has had. I will never join. So I just wanted that to be clear. Next, the PLP did make an offer to me, and I made it clear at our rally. And I've said it on my lives, and I've said it even on the radio, that the PLP did make me an offer. They offered me a large sum of money, and they offered me a position. All right. And they said, do it for your country. And I made that clear to everyone. And I told them, no, that they have been the problem. Just give the Bahamian people what we are entitled to. Stop treating us like last class in our country, and there would be no need for a Lincoln Bain. Treat Bahamians right. Put us first in our policies, not the foreigners, and there would be no need for a Lincoln Bain. There would be no kind of traction out there right now because the people would be doing well. And I don't want to be in politics. I want to live in a country that works. And so this is not about me trying to get somewhere or become a politician. We want to take power away from the politician, away from them. We don't want them to be more empowered. I'm not going to be a part of contributing to that. We understand that people are shell-shocked from what happened with V-March, but that's because they don't know what was going on behind the scenes. That was during the period that I was in the FNM, and I can tell you that V-March started in the belly of the FNM. That was not a movement that was independent, and then eventually one of the leaders said, no, we're going to support the FNM. No, that started in the FNM. And so that was a plan of them in order to gain traction. And that's why I never supported. I was never part of that march because I knew what was going on and I thought it was deceitful. And so it hurt a lot of people because they came behind that march. And if you notice the march well, it was mostly supported by FNMs and the FNM, and the PLPs were doing their own thing. But I will never sell out. There have been attempts. I've fought a lot of big battles, and every battle I fought, they would approach me in order to sell out. And I never did. And one thing that the status quo knows, that Lincoln Bain will not sell out. If I am on a mission, that is my mission, and there's nothing you can offer me. Nothing. I'm an independent person who can make my money independently. I don't depend on any other human being or government contracts, although I have had government contracts in the past. And there's nothing they can offer me to sell out the Bahamian people, because I think every generation has its cause. Every generation has its mission. And our mission is to go from being indentured slaves and being born servants to being owners of the plantation. It's time for us to own our nation. Right now, we are watching it being taken over by everyone, the Chinese, the Europeans, the Americans, the Canadians, and even the Haitians from down south are taking over our economy and push out. Our children are being told to go and get an education, and when they come back, oh, you're overqualified, get out of our country. And our children, the brains of our country, are moving to another country. You think I'm going to sell out? That will never happen. And everyone who knows me knows, they should know, that Lincoln Bain don't sell out.
Lincoln, I like that, man. I like this kind of a strong position that you've taken, and you made it emphatically clear that this is the course that you're taking. This is the course of action. It's all about Bahamians. Now, this coalition. Now, I want to talk to you about this. This coalition and the concept associated with the coalition and being able to bring independents together. There has been some agitation, and then persons who I would have been able to speak to from an independent standpoint who've taken umbrage with your posture and your poise to say that you have to be the leader of the coalition, as opposed for there being able to be sort of an open concept and the quote unquote free reign of leadership that this coalition should be able to birth. Talk to me about how you see yourself in leadership and whether or not you need to be at the helm to be able to see things move forward with your vision, as opposed to the visions that exist out there, to be able to come together and make a collective or cohesive idea to move the country forward. Talk to me about that.
I've made it clear at every point that I don't have to be at the helm of any movement. But in politics, you have to understand that there's a lot at stake. There's power at stake. And there are two major political parties that would buy out anyone. And it seems like every election they buy out the third parties and form them to join either one of them. And that's what the Bahamian people have to be careful of, that persons who are compromised would come, put themselves in leadership only to be a distraction and then sell out to the PLP or FNM. We've seen it happen. The CDR went back to the PLP, some of them, and some went to the FNM. We've seen the BDM do the same thing, come and join the FNM, while the NDP joined the PLP. We've seen how they always speak poorly about the PLP and FNM and then go and join the same people you've been speaking poorly about for years, and that's a problem. And so all we want is to make sure that we have persons who are strong and willing to take this country back and give it to the Bahamian people. And so that's really what's at the hem of it. When this coalition formed, I did not form this. All right. Bishop Henschel actually wanted to see the independents work together and third parties, and he's not political at all, but he wanted to see them like, why are y'all all over the place scattered? I'm going to call a meeting. Everyone come together, you all make your decision, and then go from there. So he just facilitated it. And he called all of us to meet together. And the independents decided that they were going to work together at this meeting. They had an election. The third parties decided that they wanted to, they had to be leaders, so they weren't interested. But all of the independent candidates, not all, but a lot of the independent candidates came together and said, okay, we're going to do this, make this happen. They had an election. They voted unanimously for me to be the leader. I did not nominate myself. All right. I was nominated by several persons in the room, and the vote was unanimous that I would be the leader. I did not decide on that. They then voted on what the name would be. I did not have any input on that. Two persons said God showed them in a vision, call it the Coalition of Independence. And so they voted on a couple different names, and Coalition of Independence won. They then voted on what our mission would be. And from there, we decided that we would be independent, but working together for whatever advantages that would be. And so it wasn't me that decided I would lead this organization. Now, after the election, we decided that we would form a party. We did extremely well. Some of the third parties, we had talks about coming together, and that never worked out. And at that point, some of them said, listen, let's see what happens in the election, and who the people go with, that's who we'll go with.
The foundation.
This is Guardian Radio 96.9 FM, Nassau, Bahamas.
the foundation.
The foundation.
And we are back, ladies and gentlemen, 96.9 FM radio. Howard Grant in your company, The Foundation. It is a glorious Tuesday. Grateful to be in your company. Always happy to be able to do this. At the top of the hour, I know that you was able to hear a very insightful position from leadership of the COI. But now we want to be able to talk from a legalistic standpoint. Now we want to be able to talk from a position where we've known and we've heard from for a very long time. We have in the house with us D. Howson Moultrie, who will be able to tell you that he was a meteorologist. And I always kind of allude to this and allude to the fact that he has this sort of an insight and a rich discernment that he can be able to see what has happened and really propel the country into what we've been able to see in this generation as a snap election. He was a part of that. His passion, his tenacity, his relentless position to always identify and to always be able to seek and speak with justice is the reason why we needed to have him here today. Now, as you know, if you're just tuning in and just being able to listen to this, our conversation is truly about Stay Sober Bahamas. It's about strength, it's about opportunity, it's about balance, empowerment, and renewal, being able to rely on ourselves, all the independent initiative, realigning the nation, realigning a nation disenchanted with traditional politics. So politics have shifted significantly. I want to be able to introduce you to a friend of the show and a personal friend who's always been able to be a mentor, even from a distance, D. Howson Moultrie. My brother, good afternoon. How are you today?
Good afternoon, Howard. It's a pleasure and well. Thank God. We are still in the land of the living.
My God, it's the truth. It is the truth, and I'm good. I'm happy to see you. You're still looking young, and Grammy say young and sprightly. You're still looking good to be able to go in those particular instances. Let's talk to me. I won't be able to dive right into it because I know that we're pressed for time like this, but I know that you have a wealth of knowledge and you've been pushing. Now, historically, a lot of persons have taken on this sort of position. I want to talk about you and your posture. As the Speaker of the House, you have really agitated in your position to speak and identify autonomy, the autonomy that always existed, that was hidden under the traditions of how things were happening in the House of Assembly, how things happened within the body of government. You unearthed that. And as a result of being able to unearth that, you were viewed as a rebel rouser. You were viewed as one of the persons who are going against the norm, against the sand, or rather the flow of how things are happening within your political organization and, more importantly, within governance. Talk to me about what led you to this sort of a position of being able to identify and amplify the issues that were happening there.
Well, Howard, first of all, my former profession, which was meteorology, taught us where we had to analyze systems and make predictions based on what the systems would produce. And I took it upon myself in the early 1990s to examine why it appeared that we were having the same problems throughout the English-speaking Caribbean and other countries that were part of the British Commonwealth. So I took it upon myself to do an analysis of our Constitution. And at that time, I reviewed the Constitution. I was not a lawyer at the time. I was assisted by the Honorable Alfred Sears at that time. And I went through the Constitution, and I discovered in my research that we had a generic Constitution. First, a Bahamian Constitution. We had a Constitution that was duplicated throughout the British Commonwealth. So first of all, I began to understand that we really didn't have a vision and a plan of development as set out in our Constitution. Mm-hmm. And the Constitution then designed the Westminster model of government. And so I did some research to discover how that should work properly. Mm-hmm. And it became very apparent that in the early 80s, we deviated significantly from the way the Westminster model should function. We introduced this concept that is known in the Bahamas of the Gussie May Cabinet. And I did some deeper research to discover what was the purpose really of Sir Lyndon at the time.
82 then.
Right.
This was 82 that you're talking about.
Right, 82 or right after the 82 or 84 election, one of those.
Mm-hmm.
And I discovered that to increase the executive branch of the government significantly so large
Mm-hmm.
that when the Prime Minister walks into the Parliament, which is the legislative branch of the government, he would have sufficient support within his cabinet to outvote the opposition and the backbench combined. That was the result.
Mm-hmm.
That
You think that that was the strategic thinking, or you think that this was sort of an idea where we afford you an opportunity based upon your proximity, your alignment, your allegiance to the organization, so as a form of payment for your commitment to organization?
I think that was strategically, politically designed because there were many, many other ways that the Prime Minister could have accommodated persons who, if he wanted to. What that effectively did was that nullified the constitutional mandate of the legislative branch of the government.
Which essentially
the House
is nullifying balance.
Yes, and see, Article 72 of the Constitution calls for the executive branch, which is the cabinet,
Mhm.
to be accountable
Mhm.
to the legislative branch, the parliament. But if you have the majority in the parliament when you come to the legislative branch, then they are bound by the collective decision-making process. They cannot go against a cabinet conclusion or a cabinet decision. And so when a bill is brought, the executive branch doesn't have to persuade the parliament. Now, when you compare that to the House of Lords, not the House of Lords, the House of Commons in the United Kingdom, they have a stipulation that the composition of the cabinet cannot be larger than 20% of the House of Commons, which means that whenever the Prime Minister and his cabinet arrive at Parliament, they have to persuade 80% of the House. Some of them might be their members in the backbench, and that makes the backbench very powerful because the ministers have to persuade the backbench, which means that the ministers have to assist and help their members of Parliament.
So how can, within the confines of your political organization, if the whip is on, a lot of persons, and this may be terminology a lot of our membership or a lot of our leadership, listenership may not necessarily be familiar with, but the whip in the House of Assembly is someone who requires you to go party line or government line in this particular day. If the whip is on, and even though you have backbenchers, despite the imbalance that exists in this particular space or the balance that we seek, how can you still get to this position? It'll only be rebel rousers, or it'll only be those persons who stand in their conviction as backbenchers and make a decision for their constituency as opposed to being able to go the party line. Is this the hope, or is this the thinking? Talk to me about it.
If you look at the history of the Parliament of the Bahamas, in the early days, the members of parliaments normally function according to the wishes of their constituents. And there were many...
This is the very early days.
Not so early, when you get into the 60s and 70s, even up until that time, until we start having these Gussie Me cabinets, members of parliament really stood up and fought for the desires of their constituents. And the constituents were able to present petitions to Parliament through their members of Parliament. But when you check the records now in the House of Assembly, you can very rarely find a petition on behalf of the people of any constituency. And that is because, first of all, like for example, if you look at the composition of this Parliament, the governing party only have 3 members who are not a part of the executive team. That is I think, the Speaker, the Deputy Speaker, and the member for Seabreeze.
Everybody else is a PALSEC or
PALSEC,
Parliament, or
Junior Minister.
Or Junior
or
Minister, Minister
substantive
of...
Minister.
Yeah.
Right? And so when you add those 3 to the 10, I mean, to the 7 opposition members, you have 10 out of 39 seats.
So Seabreeze, which is Leslia,
Right.
who is also Her Excellency.
Exactly.
So Her Excellency wasn't pulled into the fold, but she still has a significantly substantive position from a social standpoint or a governmental standpoint where you're still tethered to this particular position. You think this is by design?
It is by design.
This is crazy.
It is, but by design, it kills the function of the parliament. So the parliament becomes a rubber stamp. That's all our parliament is right now. You know, you hear this term being used with respect to the Senate, that the Senate is only a rubber stamp. But the parliament has now become just a rubber stamp of the executive branch. And so I fought for the separation of powers, because we have 3 equal arms of government. We have the judicial arm, the legislative arm, and the executive arm. The heads of those arms of the government are co-equals. The prime minister is co-equal with the speaker, who is co-equal with the chief justice. And that is how it should be. And there should be no overlap. In other words, you should not be functioning in the executive branch and the legislative branch at the same time. And that is one of the difficulties I had as speaker, where all of the staff members of the legislative branch were listed as cabinet employees and were answerable
to the cabinet,
the secretary of the cabinet,
which is the boss, essentially who's signing the checks.
And not the speaker.
Now, this is heavy. Okay.
And the speaker and the parliament didn't have a budget.
Now, if you say that the inception of this was really in the 80s, and I would assume that it was 82, if you say early 80s, I would assume it was 82, because then we had another election in 87. Was it 87 or 84?
87.
87, all right? So I assume that it was
The Commission
82.
of Inquiry in 84.
In 84, we had the Commission of Inquiry, okay? So if we look at this and look at the layout, for the most part, maybe they took their beat from being able to identify the position of the Governor General, which is a token position. Do you believe that they subscribe the same concept of a token position to speakers? Because we've seen speakers insightful, we've seen speakers objective, we've seen speakers being able to be very articulate and poised, but we haven't seen speakers agitate, and not for my dispensation. I haven't seen speakers agitate and seek out the autonomy that we know existed somewhere. We thought the autonomy existed in the fold of your political organization, the fold of your affiliation, as opposed to understanding that stepping into this position, the autonomy exists in this seat. Now, only you, in your capacity, without being able to dive deeper into the mechanics of what things are happening in the House of Assembly, only you brought this to life. As a result of this, I keep saying that issues may not necessarily be issues, but rather persons that take issue with you for being able to highlight those things. And I think that you are a prime example of that. That, autonomy was required. Being able to access that and understand that is a requirement for the growth and development of the Bahamian citizens, especially those young persons who need to know more about politics. But we didn't know that until you came to the forefront. And you get whipped for it. Talk to me about that.
Yes, well, I took a deliberate position because I figured that I had to make a contribution to the development of our parliamentary regime to the point where people get an understanding, for example.
So you didn't just want to be token. You just didn't want to sit here as a speaker with your baritone voice and your years of experience with this kind of a posture and just do as you're told, quote unquote, in this particular position. You understood something deeper and you sought it out.
I understood that what we were doing was wrong, was in breach of the Westminster model, was in breach of the separation of powers, and that it was not good for the development of the country. And so what I decided was, look, I'm going to advocate for the independence of the parliament and the independence of the speaker. But I was not unique in that regard within the Commonwealth Parliamentary Association, The Bahamas just happened to have been in the dark ages. Most of the leading democracies in the Commonwealth Parliamentary Association, Canada, the United Kingdom, Australia, New Zealand, even Barbados, and other like Bermuda, that is not even a nation, were well advanced in with the separation of powers and the independence of the speaker, to the point where their laws were set up where when a speaker is elected, he would resign from the party that he ran on and would become an independent member of parliament. And the two major parties, in mostly the two-party system, would not oppose the speaker for the second term, so that the speaker could have established some history and some longevity in the position. So those countries have a system where the speaker is normally in place for 2 terms before he either resigns or is challenged.
You're getting deep, man. You need to understand some things for 2 seconds. So you're saying to me, hypothetically, the Free National Movement puts you in Nassau Village.
Right.
Now you're in as a member of parliament. They identify you under the caucus, under the grouping, the executive of the FNM has identified you, pull you in and say, Hassan Moultrie, we want you to be the Speaker of the House of Assembly. You said, absolutely no problem. You take it in, you swear it in. Simultaneously as you swear it in, now you detach yourself from the Free National Movement.
Yes, that's
However, you're going to get 2 terms and opportunities to not only be the Speaker, but you have to be a member of Parliament also.
Yes.
That means that if you go back to Nassau Village, you're going back to Nassau Village as a
independent.
This is heavy. What you saying? This is crazy.
Without any opposition from the 2 major parties.
So the 2 political organizations, suppose I decide to oppose your position as an independent.
Well, if you decide to oppose, if both parties decide to oppose, right, like they did when I ran as an independent speaker, then people vote along party lines. If only one party decides to oppose, then it's likely that the other party will throw its support behind the speaker.
Mm-hmm.
But the best circumstance is that none of the major parties oppose the speaker. That establishes the independence of the speaker. People will then have confidence in the speaker chair, because they would see that the speaker can act independently without bias, and they wouldn't have this constant chatter from the opposition that the speaker is biased towards the governing party because he's a member of the governing party. We wouldn't have this constant vote of no confidence in the speaker because the speaker made certain rulings and so on. It just...
Yeah, but you're saying this from a position of insight, of perpetual pursuit of higher knowledge. You're saying this from a position of integrity and a desire to be able to uphold the position of law and justice in your capacity. You're saying this from the position of education and a desire to be able to see things move in a collective pursuit. That's what you're saying.
And in a position...
But there are some incompetent people.
There are from actual historical circumstances that
But that's what I'm saying.
exist.
So, but okay. So when the former leadership, when the former prime minister was in his particular capacity, your very good friend, Dr. Hubert Minnis, I'm just messing with you, right? Dr. Hubert Minnis, in his particular capacity, as he indicated, when he stood up at the forefront, as he introduced his slate of candidates, as he introduced his cabinet after this particular victory, and he stood on Government Hill to indicate that there will be a system for recall. You remember when he started to talk about that, this system of recall, right? He said that there will be a system of recall, right? And if these particular things happen, that we create a space that they would recall. No, so that didn't happen. But I'm saying to you, in the event that you were an incompetent speaker, in the event, hypothetically, in the event that you did not perform the way that you expected, based upon tradition, based upon requirements, based upon the tenets that were set before you, you got in this position and you couldn't cut the mustard. The people should have a recourse. you shouldn't get your 2 years.
No, it's not automatic.
Okay, that's what I'm trying to say.
What I'm advocating is not automatic. Like you say, the option, the two major parties can decide, well, we're going to oppose the speaker, or the speaker may decide, well, I'm going to run.
They still have the
any-
option of no confidence, of being able to vote no confidence in you.
They still have the option of no.
I like this.
Of no confidence. But what the key is to establish the independence of the office. Now, what is it shouldn't happen that has been happening lately in local politics, and I think it's by design by the prime ministers too.
This heavy what you're saying.
Right? What they do is they select a newcomer to the parliament, which the system is designed
This is heavy.
To prevent that from happening. The 2 terms of the speaker is to prevent a newcomer from becoming the speaker.
And this is not just
Without-
isolated to the Bahamas. This is the Commonwealth of Nations.
Yes, this is the Commonwealth
Well,
Parliamentary Association.
Hold on now. Hold that thought, Housen. I want to be able to dive deeper into this. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope that you're following along with this conversation. If you have any questions, any concerns, any ideas, anything that you want to be able to contribute, please hit me up, 827-0111. That's 827-0111. Let me take this quick commercial break and be right back after this.
The Foundation. We'll be back right after this.
The foundation. The foundation.
Tired of banks forcing you to use technology to bank the way they want you to? Your convenience is important. So no matter what your banking needs, Commonwealth Bank's friendly staff are always available in branch for that personal one-on-one service. But when you choose technology, our online and mobile banking app offers you state-of-the-art functionality. The choice is yours. Commonwealth Bank. Bank the way you want.
Bonneville Bones, established in 1970, is the leader in men's fashion in the Bahamas. We're conveniently located in the mall at Marathon and the Harbor Bay Shopping Plaza, and fully stocked with everything you need for all occasions. Our Harbor Bay location is one door north of Alive, with the black and white signage of Bonneville Boutique. Both locations are open from 10 to 7 p.m., Monday through Saturday. Bonneville Bones and Bonneville Boutique, still the leader in men's fashion. Located in the mall at Marathon and the Harbor Bay Shopping Plaza.
Looking for a supplement which can be used daily without side effect? Give Ginseng Royal Jelly and Panax Ginseng Extract a try. They contain high active proteins and vitamins. They can prevent cardiovascular and cerebrovascular diseases, significantly increase energy and stamina, restore libido, sharpen memory, balance endocrine system, and prevent cancer. Recognize the blue bottle as authenticity. For more information, call 557-1369. Ancient Chinese Secret.
The Grand Bahama News is available every Tuesday in the Nassau Guardian. You can buy your local paper at Freeport convenience stores, Western Bakery, De Gregory's Fine Foods, and Bellevue Gifts. Now is the time to reach your Grand Bahama market with affordable packages, including print and digital. Call GB News sales representative Kavandre at 822-6717 or message him on WhatsApp for ad rates. Classified ads are now available every Tuesday as well. Keep up with everything Grand Bahamian every Tuesday in the Nassau Guardian.
Carrie's Fabric and Uniform Store wants to get you ready for back to school.
They have ready-made uniforms and uniform fabrics for almost every school in the Bahamas.
At Carrie's, find skirts, blouses, shirts, jumpers, boy shorts and long pants, neckties, socks, and
You
more.
can even have your uniform skirts custom made.
Check out our selection of embroidered cotton shirts.
That's Carrie's Fabric and Uniform Store on Mackey Street. Call us at 393-0758 or 817-0758.
This is Guardian Radio 96.9 FM. Fresh news, smart talk, all day.
The Foundation.
The foundation.
And we are back, ladies and gentlemen, 96.9 FM radio. Howard Grant in your company, The Foundation. We are here having an exciting, I think it's absolutely exciting. We are here having an exciting discourse and conversation. Over the week, we've been talking about this. Stay sober, Bahamas. Sobriety is important, especially as we get into a time where the rhythm of drinks and the rhythm of the beat and the music will cause you to be able to make a decision that you could regret over over the course of the half a decade. Let's just be decent as possible as we talk about this. Today, we're talking with none other than Howson Moutray. We're talking for this hour. At the top of the show, you heard another conversation. Right now, at this hour, we're talking with none other than Howson Moutray, who gave me significant insight. I might as well tell you, this is truly exciting. You gave me significant insight about not necessarily how things are going in this country and the tradition of things, but how it's supposed to be. Now, when we left off, you started to talk about this sort of an idea of what was supposed to happen. Talk to me about that.
Yeah, see, the office of Speaker is very significant to democracy in a country. And the parliamentary, Commonwealth Parliamentary Associations, starting with the motherland, England, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, all of those countries, they recognize the importance of the independence of the Speaker and the independence of the Parliament. And the reason why that recognition is so important, it is because the Parliament is has a constitutional mandate to make certain that the executive branch are good stewards of the people's assets. All of this talk about corruption and plunder and theft and unconstitutional activity that we are seeing happening in the Bahamas today is as a consequence of the Parliament not being able to rein in the executive branch of the government. So the executive branch of the government has a free rein, the Prime Minister has a free rein.
There's no accountability.
And there's no accountability, there's no transparency, they're refusing to answer questions. I don't know if you remember the time, there was a time when I was insisting that the Prime Minister answer questions. How could you come to the Parliament of the people and not answer the questions of the people? You have to answer the question. You cannot act contrary to the Constitution like we see happening now, where the government that didn't receive a mandate to deal with citizenship matters, entrenched provisions of the Constitution that requires 75% majority in the House of Parliament, that is the House of Assembly, and the Senate for you to touch any of those provisions dealing with citizenship. They have decided under the Bahamas Nationality Act to create fake and pseudo Bahamian citizens. And that's what I call them, because they are acting
it's heavy what you're saying.
unconstitutionally. See, they cannot produce for the Bahamian people any certificate from the Speaker to show that there was a bill, the Bahamas Nationality Act passed with a 75% majority in the House of Assembly. They cannot produce a certificate from the President of the Senate to say that that bill passed the Bahamas Nationality Act with a 75% majority, and they cannot produce a certificate from the parliamentary registrar that says that there was a referendum and that the majority of the Bahamian people voted for you to make changes to any of those provisions dealing with citizenship, which is Article 3, I think, to 14. But yet, every day you look in the newspaper, you could see all of these notices that people are being granted citizenship. I look in the newspaper today, and the member for Fox Hill, who is also the Foreign Affairs Minister, he's saying that the government is going to be unrelenting on matters of sovereignty. Well, the greatest matter of sovereignty is the citizenship of the nation. And like a Benedict Arnold, they are betraying the Bahamian people and granting persons who unlawfully and unconstitutionally Bahamian citizenship. See, that is the purpose of the parliament. See, if you could negate the parliament, as the Attorney General seemed to think, you can just by policy bypass the entrenched provisions of the Constitution by a law that was not even passed through the parliament with a 75% majority, that there was no referendum. We are destroying the whole concept of sovereignty. The Prime Minister made an announcement a couple of weeks ago that he has taken work permits back from people who are taking Bahamian jobs. But the people have to understand what the Prime Minister meant when he said that. He's taken work permits back from persons who he has made fake Bahamian citizens and pseudo Bahamian citizens. They,
Exactly
of
what you're
course,
saying.
don't need a work permit. So it is
Exactly.
disingenuous to come to the Bahamian people and say that I have taken back work permits from foreign persons who are taking Bahamian jobs. The Bahamian people must be really, really backward and stupid to believe that that is what is happening. You see, so the parliament is where the people, like, there are objections being made to all of these people who are applying for citizenships, right? But have you heard any single member of parliament come to parliament and raise that issue?
No, I haven't.
No, but by law, they have to put the notice in the paper and the objections are made.
Well, this is what I'm saying. I mean, we're in this kind of a position where we are wrangling and fighting with what's happening in our country from a traditional standpoint and what needs to happen in our country to get to the progression that we envision. We're fighting with the fact that people view and idolize political leadership and seek not to touch them, almost from a biblical standpoint, touch not my anointed, that God set up governments. And we have taken that kind of a biblical context and stepped back from being able to stand in our strength, stand in our position, stand in the provisions that is set aside for us in our Constitution. And so we're in this kind of a position. And I'm saying to you that as a result of your position, as a result of your agitation, no matter how persons been able to receive you from a political and a public standpoint, you have enlightened a great deal of people. And so I want to get to that conversation. I want to get to the conversation that after it all, after it's said and done, after the indifference that exists in your political organization, after a desire to be able to perpetuate what needs to happen from a constitutional standpoint, from a legal standpoint, within the body of our politics, you found yourself as an independent in Nassau Village. As an independent in Nassau Village. Was this a decision that was a natural course based upon what you said at the forefront, that you devoid or divorce yourself from your political organization and commit yourself to your constituency in preparation to serve yet again in stepping into seniority as the Speaker of the House of Assembly? Was that your thinking, or was this sort of a social rebellion that says, you know what, the hell with these guys, I'm going to do what I believe is right? Talk to me about it.
Well, once I took the decision to become independent, the entire process required that you offer to establish the complete process as an independent person. Now, I knew when I was doing that the governing party was going to field a candidate in that constituency, and I also knew from the activities of the official opposition at the time that they were going to field a candidate in the area. And so the offering as an independent candidate was more symbolic with respect to the proper course of action than a political initiative to be re-elected.
You knew you didn't have a chance.
No, because you see, the first thing you have to understand is just like in the biblical days, when the Savior and Barabbas were presented to the people.
They want Barabbas.
The people said, give us Barabbas.
Hold on
People
now.
still calling
It's
for
too big.
Barabbas
It's too deep.
today, and then complaining that Barabbas is a thief.
But Barabbas multiply, because if you're talking like this, we may have two Barabbas. So they're on both sides of Jesus.
Exactly. They on both sides. What I'm saying is the people don't, in a democracy, the people don't necessarily select what is best for them all the time. They make decisions And the history, even of biblical times, show that the people selected Barabbas over the Savior. The people are still doing that today. They will, in the interim between elections, they will encourage persons to participate and to speak and so on. But when the goatskin drums and the liquor start to flow and the money start to flow and so on, they line up with Barabbas. Because all of them looking for some handout or some contract.
Yeah, but you know this. I'll say, my sheep hear my voice.
Yes, but
you know that.
But that's what I'm saying. So the people, what I try to do in the whole process is to educate and enlighten the people that we have to move from this emotional attachment towards a more analytical approach. But the challenge with that is the politicians are creating a class of people who are basically dysfunctional. The public school system is producing illiterate people, dysfunctional people. So 60% of every graduating class in the grouping in the public school system are either illiterate or semi-illiterate. So they create a cadre of people that they can manipulate and exploit. See, this is all Machiavellian politics being played out right before our eyes. Despite what you might hear, they would say and make these glorious announcements. But when you analyze the circumstances and the position that people find themselves in, you say, well, Peter's no better than Paul.
My God.
The F&M is just like the PLP and that sort of stuff, because they basically produce the same result because they have the same basic philosophy on politics and on governance. And they've been getting away with it for decades. And if you can get away with it for decades, why change it? See, until the people decide that we are not going to tolerate you just feeding me a candidate. See, why can't I have primaries in my constituency and choose
I think that's an excellent idea.
we want to represent us?
I think that's an excellent idea.
You see?
A lot of them will be
demand
swallowed by independents who live in that particular constituency.
Exactly.
They'll be swallowed by them.
Because what
Especially if your political organization just sent you there, you'll be swallowed by persons who live there and have a passion for that constituency.
Exactly. And what you would find is you would have a more. I always advocated that if you don't live in a constituency or you were not born in a constituency, you should not be able to offer to represent that constituency. So we shouldn't have people just popping up.
But if it's like that, a lot of these fellas that we see here and that we've seen, they would never, ever make it in politics because their family, their friends will never vote for them. They got to go look for someplace else to present themselves. And that's what we've seen over the course of our politics in this country.
From Grand Bahama who had to run to Nassau to get elected.
You're doing a lot right now. Ladies and gentlemen, let me take this quick commercial break and be right back after this.
The Foundation. We'll be back right after this.
The foundation. The foundation.
Everything is bigger and better at Burger King Nassau. When you have a big appetite, BK has a royal deal for you. Get a flame grilled double Big King Jr. or an original chicken sandwich plus 4 chicken nuggets, small fries, a drink, and a fresh baked cookie for only $9.95, including that. The royal deal was built for a big appetite, and at $9.95, including that, it's a steal of a deal. Go big and enjoy the BK flavors you love with the $9.95 royal deal at Burger King Nassau.
Now let me see now. 326 EPIC. Hello. This Epic Eckert battery. This Miss Beulah from round the corner. I hear you're selling tires now on Wolf Road too.
Praise the Lord. It's about time. I live Fox Hill and Fire Trail. It's too far.
That ain't all. They open Monday to Friday, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. On Sunday and holiday, 8 a.m. to 4 p.m.
My brother Sam, he's a hacker, and he could go right there and get fixed up.
Call us at 326 EPIC. We ship also to the Family Island.
Cordyceps is a valuable herb which is used to treat chronic bronchitis, respiratory and kidney disorders, nighttime urination, sexual dysfunction, anemia, irregular heartbeat, hypertension, high cholesterol, unwanted weight loss. Also, it can be used to generate blood cells. It can actively assist against cancerous cells and shrink the size of tumors. It is also good for menopause and delays aging. For more information, call 557-1369 and ask for Cordyceps today. Ancient Chinese secret.
For fast, reliable, and impactful printing services, look no further. Let Printmasters bring your masterpiece to life. We stand by our quality products that is second to none. Our affordable pricing and friendly, efficient staff makes Printmasters the ultimate choice for all your printing needs. We can deliver any type of printing services, from banners to booklets to business cards. You name it, we can print it.
Let Printmasters bring your masterpiece to life.
Located in the Nassau Guardian Building, telephone 302-2361.
This is Guardian Radio 96.9 FM. Fresh news, smart talk, all day.
The Foundation.
The Foundation.
And we are back, ladies and gentlemen. 96.9 FM radio. Howard Grant and your company. The Foundation. Beautiful Tuesday afternoon. Hope you guys are out there enjoying yourself. Happy birthday to you if you're celebrating a birthday, getting yourself prepared for back to school. All those persons with back to school, something, go check them out. You can be able to get some great deals, great things happening out there in the city. Nobody called me and tell me nothing specific. I'm not going to fight you, but I know that there's some great deals out there. If you're a parent, if you're in that kind of a position where you're trying to be able to pinch a penny, go and check them out and try to be able to take care of your kids. Have them to go back to school with a mindset prepared to learn. Halson Mutri is sitting with us today. D. Halson Mutri, former Speaker of the House of Assembly, former Member of Parliament in Nassau Village, meteorologist and lawyer by profession, always being able to do a great deal, still practicing, still committing himself to this, and still really passionate about what needs to happen in our country. Halson, in these last few minutes before we actually get out of here, I want to talk to you about it. I want to talk to you about vision. I want to talk to you about concepts and ideas about being able to wean ourselves, if only, away from the traditional concept of politics that's not serving the people. Like you indicated, from the beginning of, from the top of 1982, with the expansion of cabinet, with the imbalance that's been, is almost like adding sugar to your diet, too much sugar, and the ingestion, we've actually been able to see that we've produced something socially. We've produced glaucoma socially. We've produced diabetes socially, right? This is just proverbially speaking, that our society is ailing as a result of the introduction of this imbalance, like you said, all the way from 1982. How do we fix this? Talk to me about how we can fix this. Go ahead.
Well, you see, with independence, we are in our 51st year. With independence comes responsibility. But somehow, we are claiming to be an independent nation, but we are still dependent in our thoughts. We still need and look to someone else to come and to develop our economy for us, to own our number one and number two industries, to provide jobs for our people. Yeah. We haven't arrived yet at the maturity of what I call interdependent thinking, where we say, okay, we're going to make certain that our people are productive to the point where we have something to offer the world, so that the world, there's an interdependent relationship between the Bahamas and the rest of the world, right? So there's more than just sun and sea in the Bahamas. We need to look at a vision of developing each one of our family islands, as opposed to having all of the population in the Southeast Bahamas basically drifting towards the Northwest Bahamas, and then the government has to subsidize all the communities in the Southeast Bahamas, with the exception of my home, Great Inagua, because we have a salt industry up there. But so we need to begin to look more to ourselves and to do away with this concept that I see the government still perpetuating. Just this jobs concept where we have to continually look to other places. We have a tourism industry. We don't know how to even build a high-rise hotel. We don't know how to operate and run a shipping industry. We need people to come in, and I can understand it for a period of time, but after 51
Well, this is the concept
years,
of bohemianization, by the way.
Yes.
Bohemianization was, we could understand it for a period of time. They're coming in, preparing our people, but we want to be the owners of this particular position. We want to be the owners of these hotels. We want to be the owners of this occupation. But that has never come to fruition. We haven't seen that.
I'll tell you one thing might surprise people. I support 100% the initiative of the government with respect to the Port Authority. 100%. Now, I don't support...
In terms of being able to
plunder,
acquire
in
the
terms
$357 million?
Right, in terms of trying to take private property and converting it, public property and converting it. But I believe the concept of a parallel system of government in a country is absolute nonsense.
But this was established from 1955.
I don't
The
care how long
Hawksbill-
it was established.
The Hawksbill
It
Agreement existed.
It should be
It
rescinded.
worked for the government for a while.
It should be rescinded. Not only that, that was the raping of the Bahamian people. 136 square miles of land that you just gave to these people, and then they just began to operate like landlords. That's all they do now. The visionaries are dead from the Port Authority. The generation that inherited the interest in the port, they're not visionaries. They are plunderers. They just basically taxing the people to death. You know, and something should be done about it. Now, I understand the politics of it.
How's this a deep conversation?
I understand the
And you know I want to chop this down with you. You know I want to. Let me tell you why. Because I view this, and I spoke about this, as, and I don't want the conversation to get away from us, but I view this and I spoke about this as the PLP special teams. The PLP historically has identified Grand Bahama as F&M country. The last time there's been any significant agitation to be able to capture the minds and the imagination of people that exist in Grand Bahama via the PLP was in 1969. 1969 was the Bender Brig speech. It had nothing to do the operators. It had nothing to do with those particular persons who were owners in that position. This was language to be able to capture the imagination of the Bahamian people and have them follow us. That didn't happen. The F&M found themselves in significant position of being able to support, and now you dub Grand Bahama F&M country. The PLP is taking risk. Calculated. It may be calculated, but this is a risk that they've taken for being able to challenge the Grand Bahama Port Authority if this is about politics.
I think it's about desperation.
It's heavy what you're saying.
But it's not about politics. They know this is a bad political move.
This is a horrible
But
political
this
move.
is just how desperate the government is, because the government has exhausted their ability to borrow. And so what the government
This is crazy.
So what the government has embarked on, you watch them carefully. They have embarked on a program to convert private assets and to seize private assets. So they're going after the port. They're going after sandals. They're going after the ordinary Bahamian people. If you look in the newspaper on Friday, all you can see are private properties that the government is going after for real property tax and trying to seize private property and convert it into public assets.
So this concept that former Prime Minister, you need to get 2 minutes before we get out of here. This concept that the former Prime Minister has come out with that says that taxing its people is a lazy way of governance is the order of the day.
Yes. And if you look at BPL, for example, I don't support the government and what the government is doing and taking the people's assets like they took BTC and now BPL and converting it into private enterprise and have these non-disclosure and privacy and secrecy about it, and we don't know if it is their people who are the beneficiaries of these initiatives, and if they're just setting up a power, taking the people's assets and basically giving it to their persons in private enterprise. We have the same concept with the Sovereign Wealth Fund, where they set up a situation there. We had a certain situation with the Gaming Act. When the Gaming Act came into place, the persons who were the beneficiaries was from the power and supporters of the government of the day. I mean, no one can deny that. The ones who they identified and gave licenses to. And they claimed that you needed to have experience in the industry, which was a criminal, illegal industry.
But you had to have experience.
Now they are, yes. Now they're moving on to marijuana. And we have this.
You think the same principles would apply?
The same principles apply.
The precedent has been set.
You have, what you have in this government.
Housing, this is a lot.
Is absolute
You
plunder.
got to come back with me.
This is absolute plunder that is happening.
Come sit with me in September. God spare our lives. After I get back, I'd love you to be able to sit with me, have a good conversation. Let's do that.
Yes.
If you are available, I'd love you to be able to sit with me on air to talk about it. This week was about sobriety.
Yes, it is difficult to just sit on the sideline as a patriotic Bahamian and watch what is happening.
I enjoy this
It's a
conversation.
sad day in Bahamian history. This 3 years of this government in my lifetime, and I'm
My God.
70 years old now, has
My
been
God.
the worst experience in terms of plunder and corruption in Bahamian history over the past
This is a heavy
70 years.
allegation that you've placed upon the
telling you.
shoulders of the PRP.
Oh, yeah. It's difficult to get worse than this.
My God. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that's the show today. Halson Mootry, D. Halson Mootry, being able to sit with us here and be able to talk the way that he is. He's been able to listen. He pulled that rabbit out of the hat. I didn't know it was going to be so bright when he pulled it. We got to be able to have him come back here. I am truly, truly grateful